The demolition notice was still warm from the city printer when Lena pulled her hand out of Jay's. She did it on the front steps. Right there, under the cracked marquee letters that still spelled out Siwon Cinema, half the S chipped away, the O hanging crooked from one bolt. She looked at the building, the way people look at something they're glad to be done with, and she said it cleanly. No hesitation, no softness. She was leaving. She'd met someone. Someone who didn't spend his weekends rewiring projectors in a dead building. His dead father had left him. Someone who had actual plans for this city, not sentimental ones. The black car at the curb was Cho Min-yuk's. Everyone in the district knew that car. Cho was 34, third-generation real estate. His family's name on 3 towers visible from where Jay was standing. He didn't get out. He didn't need to. The door swung open and Lena walked toward it without looking back, and Jay stood on the steps of his father's cinema and watched the car pull away. He didn't chase it. He turned around and went inside. The projection booth smelled like his father. Dust and old lamp oil and the specific cold of a room that hadn't been properly heated in 2 winters. Jay sat in the operator's chair and looked at the booth walls, covered in his father's handwriting, technical notes, the names of every film that had ever run in this room, dates going back 40 years. The demolition notice said the city's Urban Renewal Authority had flagged the block for redevelopment. He had 60 days to respond, or the building reverted to auction. He almost didn't read the rest of the folder his father's lawyer had sent 6 months ago that he'd never opened. He read it that night. Buried in the original property deed, written in the kind of legal language that takes 3 readings to parse, was a clause his father had apparently negotiated in the early days of the cinema's deconstruction, a reversionary development right. If the city ever designated this block for a major urban renewal corridor, the deed holder had first option participation rights in the anchor commercial contract, not just the building, the whole corridor contract. The clause had sat dormant for 31 years because the city had never touched this block. Until now. Jay read it twice more. Then he called the City Renewal Authority's public line, was transferred 4 times, and finally reached a junior planner who went very quiet when Jay read the clause number out loud. The planner said he'd need to escalate that. Jay said, "Take your time." He was back in the projection booth at midnight, running the numbers on a legal pad, when his phone lit up with an unknown number. The voice on the other end was brisk and professional. A woman named Director Yoon, representing a blind bidding investment consortium that had been watching the renewal corridor for 2 years. She'd gotten his name from the city authority's escalation flag. She asked if he understood what the clause entitled him to. He said he was starting to. She asked if he'd be willing to meet. He said tomorrow morning. What Director Yoon's consortium offered wasn't charity. It was a controlled partnership. Her capital, his deed-anchored rights, a 50-50 split on the corridor's anchor entertainment and commercial complex. The city renewal contract was worth, at floor estimate, $800 million over the development phase. She'd been trying to acquire this block's rights for 18 months. Cho Min-yuk's firm had been trying longer. Neither of them had known about the clause because the original deed was in paper archive, filed under the father's name, and nobody had thought to look. Jay signed the partnership, heads of agreement, on a Tuesday morning at a coffee shop, 2 blocks from the cinema. He used a pen his father had left in the projection booth. The renovation took 11 months. Jay spent the first 3 of them living in the projection booth and sleeping 4 hours a night. He learned what a load-bearing wall was by necessity. He learned what a leaseholder's escalation right was by reading. The consortium's lawyers handled the city filings. Jay handled everything that happened inside the building. Every contractor meeting, every material choice, every argument about the lobby ceiling height. He kept his father's handwritten notes on the booth walls. He built the new projection room around them. The cinema reopened as the Siwon Complex, a 4-screen premium cinema on the upper floors, a ground-floor event space and restaurant strip, the anchor node of a corridor that now had 3 other commercial buildings attached to it on either side, all under the same development umbrella. The city's renewal authority announced the full corridor contract at a press conference. Jay's name was in the first line of the announcement. Director Yoon stood beside him in the photographs. Cho Min-yuk's firm had submitted a competing bid for the corridor anchor contract 9 months earlier. Their bid had assumed the original deed was clean. It wasn't. When the city authority confirmed the reversionary clause was valid and Jay's rights were senior, Cho's firm's entire corridor acquisition strategy. 3 years of planning, a significant portion of their leverage capital, collapsed. The bid was rejected. The leverage unwound badly. By the time the Siwon complex was preparing for its reopening gala, Cho's firm was in restructuring, 3 projects frozen, creditors circling. Jae heard about it the way he heard about most things that month, from director Yoon's assistant sending him a clipped news brief. He filed it and moved on. The gala was a Friday night in early winter. The city's entertainment press, the renewal authority, the consortium partners, 3 city council members, and 200 invited guests. The old marquee had been restored, every letter clean, the original font, the S and the O both firmly bolted. Inside, his father's handwritten notes had been framed and mounted in the new projection booth corridor, lit softly, the way you display something worth keeping. Jay was standing at the lobby bar talking to director Yoon about phase 2 of the corridor when his assistant, a young woman named Sarah, appeared at his elbow and said quietly that there was someone at the velvet rope asking to come in. Not on the guest list. She'd given her name as Lena. Jay looked at Sarah. Sarah said, "She says she knows you. She's been there about 15 minutes. She's asking to speak to you directly." Jay was quiet for a moment. The lobby was warm and loud around him, the projectors running, the restored ceiling glowing amber under the new lighting rig. He looked at the framed photograph behind the bar, his father in the original projection booth, 1980-something, young and smiling, the same marquee visible through the booth window behind him. He told Sarah, "Standard policy. No guest list, no entry. Offer her a card for the public programming schedule." Sarah nodded and left. Jay turned back to director Yoon and picked up exactly where he'd left off. Phase 2 had 4 sites. He had a preference on 2 of them. Outside, through the restored glass doors of the lobby, the marquee letters burned clean and steady against the winter dark. Siwon Complex, every letter in place, nothing missing, nothing hanging crooked. The city moved past it the way cities do, indifferent and continuous. He never looked toward the door.